Thank you, everybody. I've got my timer on so I can rush. Okay, quick question. Who here wants me to succeed in my talk this afternoon? Okay, I see a few hands that have not been raised. Who here would like to see me succeed in my talk this afternoon? Okay, thank you. In order for me to succeed in my talk, I am going to need you to unequivocally agree with my next slide before you've seen it. Who here agrees with my next slide? Wow, this is beautiful. Okay, so now suddenly there's not that many people who want me to succeed. Okay, so now I cannot succeed if you don't agree. Okay, so my name is Etienne. I am the founder of 7 CTOs. I was born to code. I born in South Africa. Riza and I were born in South Africa. Any other South Africans? Okay, Riza, it's you and me. Okay, North African. Okay, got it. So came to Germany after I got my computer science degree in South Africa. I was just coding my whole way up into the role of CTO and have learned a lot in my role and in my creation of 7 CTOs. So the next slide. Who would like to see the next slide that you're unequivocally, unilaterally agreeing with right now? Okay, there's about 37% of the room. Okay, the role of CTO is not technical. Pause for effect as if you were on the TED stage. Okay, I'm supposed to be doing this. The role of CTO is not technical, so can you guys hang with me for a little bit as I go through this? Okay, the room is so quiet right now. Okay, great. So, I'm going to ask us to create a little story. So I've got about 5 or 6 minutes to do this, so you guys are all going to work with me in a little group exercise. Is everybody good with doing a group exercise with me? Okay, participation is about 7 out of 10. This is okay. Let's create a startup story, okay? Bob and Alice decide to create an app that will be an alternative to Twitter. He builds communities and she loves coding, okay? That's the beginning of the story. Everybody got that? Write a sentence that describes their journey over the next 5 years. So can you take out your notebooks and your phones and your writing devices, because I'm going to ask you to write a sentence that describes their journey over the next 5 years. Use your imagination. Did they succeed? They knocked Twitter off. They struggled. They couldn't find a dev shop. They never spoke to Angel. They never got anywhere. They had a co-founder conflict. Write a sentence, use your imagination, that describes their journey over the next 5 years. I see some people writing, some people are just sort of, dude. Okay, so use your imagination. Bob and Alice have just started the company. They're going to compete with Twitter. And I would like to know from you what their journey looked like over the next 5 years in one sentence. They had a massive IPO. They all got stinking rich. They couldn't use the @ protocol because they couldn't get an invite to Blue Sky. Okay. Does everybody have a sentence? Okay, you are turning to the person next to you and you are combining the story. Okay, everybody did that? How was it? Okay, now, I'm going to ask you to turn to another person and do the exact same thing. Turn to another person and combine your stories. It might involve some movement. You might have to stand up and talk to somebody. I appreciate the participation. There we go. I see hands shake. I see people introducing themselves. Okay, now pair up. So take the two, the person you just spoke to, go find another pair and combine your stories. Stories have to include elements of all 4 participants. You may have to stand. You may have to stand up. You're going to pair up. You're going to be 4 people. You're going to pair up and combine your stories. How did that go? Quick check-in, just a quick check-in. Did you guys come up with a story of approximately 4 sentences? Did the story change a little bit? Okay, interesting, because it's going to get worse. I would like you to find 4 other people. So, you know when you were used to be 4? Take those 4 people and go to another group of 4 people and combine that story. I'm going to give you extra minutes for that. I recommend you stand up and I recommend you engage. Let's do this. Find another quad. Combine your stories. They have to include elements of all 8 participants. Okay. Okay. How was that? How was that? Just briefly from the audience, how was that? Just tell me, just quickly. Fun. I wasn't going for fun. What? Chaos. Thank you. Converge, complex. Oh my, who said complex? Did you say complex? Oh my goodness. By the way, $35, you're coming your way. You nailed it. Story got more complex. Thank you. Well, that went very well. I was imagining last night before I went to bed, stunned silence when I asked you to participate. And I got the exact opposite, so thank you. Shall we do some applause for everybody? Okay. So in your stories, there were some contradictions. Raise your hand if there were some weird contradictions. The one had an exit and the other one had a flame out. Okay? Contradictions. There was some entropy, right? Things sort of degrading, things sort of coming down. And there was emergence. The story sort of took on a whole life of its own. Is that good? Does anybody recognize what I'm talking about? Who are my systems thinkers in here? Complex systems. Okay? We have a simple system. You wrote down that little story, and you were like, this is going to be easy. And then I said, hey, find another person, combine the story. And it was like, well, I don't like that person. I've been avoiding them this whole day, and now I literally have to combine a story with them. It sucks. You suck. By the way, this was generated by DALL-E, okay? Then the story got more complex because we had to now combine other people. It's not just the story, it's the management of the story. Who here was sort of the strong leader who was like, stood up and corralled the people together? I saw approximately 2 people doing that. That's amazing. And then it turns into chaos. Okay, so that was my talk. I think we're good. I'm joking. I only just started. It's going to be 2 hours. Before you leave today, I'm going to give you a circle and a square, okay? A triangle and a square. Okay, who can say I'm going to say triangle, you say square. Triangle, square. Triangle, square. Triangle. Square. Okay, Vivi, that one was for you, my 12-year-old. She said I should do that. Okay. So let's do a quick look at systems theory. Who here has done systems theory of any sorts, has studied the theory of systems? Okay, no one. Systems consist of elements, okay, basic elements. Those elements are in relationship with each other. Because they are in relationship with each other, they form a new level of organization and behavior that you did not maybe predict. So you add an element to a system and the system starts behaving differently. I think in computer science, that's understandable. But you've all seen this in your teams. You hire that one person in who's supposed to make the team a better place, and then the team sucks after that. It's because the system takes on a new level of behavior called emergence. Now, let's talk about complex systems. That was just a simple system. Complex systems are multidimensional. You have many elements that are on different scales, different sizes, interacting with each other at large scales. Complex systems are self-organizing. So I'm going to just go through this quickly. Then complex systems are non-linear, which means that 1 + 1 doesn't necessarily equal 2. There are feedback loops that can cause systems to flip and behavior to change before you even knew that it happened. I think, I'm not going to say ChatGPT is boring. Okay. There's also adaptation and autonomy. The system continuously adapts. Complex systems adapt. And this is the thing, is without central organization or coordination. So there's not necessarily a single person that is dictating the behavior of systems. Now, why am I doing all of that? Because in all my years, I've come to see that our companies are complex systems. There are cycles of entropy, synchronization, organizations. We can talk about acquisitions, layoffs, technology changes, regime changes, and the whole company and the whole system has to adapt to something that has changed. So I didn't see any of those responses, so I'm assuming we can all just watch that. But that's kind of mind-blowing. So this brings me back to my original question, my original statement that the CTO is not necessarily technical. So given complex systems, I'd like to take a stab at what a CTO really is, okay? My next sentence was produced by my own brain, not by an AI, and it is as concise as I could possibly make it. So, the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, brings elements into relationships that self-organize into systems that are interdependent with other systems that all interact with an environment which demands new levels of organization as more components are being put together. New levels of organization as more components are being put together. I mean, goodness, if there is a definition of what executives go through when companies are scaling, is that. The person that you are today can't be the person that you are 6 months from now, because it demands new levels of organization as more components are put into the system, as more things change, and the CTO, that's what the CTO manages. I don't care if you're a startup of 1 person or 1,000 people, that's what's going on. More components are being put together. Now, the more components, from my experience, the one thing that increases complexity is the dollars and the people. Technology has technical debt, it has architectural bottlenecks, it has integration issues. But I have not seen more complexity enter into a system than when you add more money or more people, or you take away money and you take away people. So what I like to think of as the role of CTO is to understand the revenue goals and use the dollars to find the right people to eventually build the technology that you need. So now the role of CTO is understanding the business objectives, understanding where the company is going, is able to allocate budget, and is able to manage 2 people, 200 people, 2,000 people. Ultimately, that is the cost center, that is the resource that has to ultimately produce the revenues. So that was the triangle. Everybody good with that? I got like 2 slides left. I mean, this is going way faster than I thought. CTO, revenue targets, assign the dollars by the people. The square to me is how the CTO does that. CTO is focused on the speed of delivery, stretching out the organization through vacancy, organizational design, budgeting, hiring. The CTO is responsible for shielding the organization from future threats, current threats, internal threats, external threats. And I love it when I see a CTO involved in the sales of the product or the services. So in there, of course, all the buzzwords around technology, but as a role, I like to see that square. So the triangle and the square. Great. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Does the CTO really control the budget to buy resources?
Coming from you, of course, CTO of a multinational organization, that's an interesting question. I think so.
Well, in the reality, the budgets are controlled by the P&L heads in corporations, and the CTO has actually very little power. They have to be super persuasive, though, to you had revenue. Revenue can be incredibly distracting, and often when you want to persuade a P&L head to invest somewhere, it could be to the detriment of their current revenue stream, and especially CTOs that want to be agents of change when corporations are undergoing a massive or need to undergo massive change or die. And we can remember the corporations that didn't change, the Kodaks, the Xerox, Ampex, and so on, where they didn't change because they obsessed on the revenue and followed that curve down into the don't get preachy, but sometimes the CTO doesn't control the budget and can't buy those people. So that dollar to people, there's an influencer component in there where you have to persuade the people that have revenue targets and bonuses and commissions and so on to give up some of that in order to buy a future.
And I love that you said that, Reza, because that speaks to you use the key words, right? Persuasion, understanding long-term impact, the give to the one, take from the other. That to me is even more indicative of how the CTO role is not really technical per se. It is one that is able to articulate, understand, influence an organization towards these things. I'm not saying it's always going to be successful, but I want to decouple the idea that the technical person gets given a budget. I understand in large corporations how that works, but how often does that conversation start with, hey, tell me, what do you need? How many people do you need? What is the market analysis? What gaps do you see? And so we often are trained that it's a bottom-up thing. And I would love for it to be a C-suite collaborative on, hey, this is the goals for the company, and this is the budget we are going to work with, and these are the people we're going to get with that. So
on that triangle, I'm not sure I agree 100% with you. The people I see, the revenues I would see, it's the amount of work you want to get done, some sort of scope. But nowhere do I see time, right? Because it's over a period of time. You don't have forever. You're going to be out of a job if you don't deliver some things in the next 6 months, 9 months, etc. So however you stretch that triangle, if you want more scope, you better have more people, or you better have, more time to do it if you're not going to have more people.
I love it. It's a great point. The dollars to me is sort of the time constraint there, but I totally get what you're saying. Absolutely, time. That's why I picked triangle, because it starts with a T, and it's, so,
So speak to the role of the CTO in the young organization versus the large. You have both in your group?
In 7 CTOs, we have both, yes. We have brutally early startups all the way up to CTOs managing around $50 million in budgets. So yes, we see all of that. I'll just speak briefly to this. I subscribe to the idea that every company who is building technology needs a CTO. And I think there's a time, let's wait until we're 10 people, or let's wait until we break a certain, I believe, and sometimes the lead developer will be making some decisions that generally a CTO would be making. But I believe that at various stages of the company's scale, and I spoke to Neil about this, but we've built a levels model from 0 through 10, managing 100K in budget all the way to 50 million in budget, so 0 through 10. And at each one of those levels, speed looks different, stretch looks different, shield looks different, and sales looks different. So the focus is generally different. So it could be anything from your code organization and trunk-based development and feature flagging as a young organization, all the way up to incentive programs to help developers stay inside your company, bring their creativity into the organization and not do it outside the organization. Initially, you might build a hairy architecture to get your MVP out, and then you start doing the optimization. But we believe that those 4 activities remain consistent, but could look different at every level of that matrix. And I'll be happy to share that matrix with you. I'll send you my Venmo account details. Oh my God. Okay.
I've seen multiple times the same person wearing CTO and CPO hats. Can you comment with your thoughts on that?
I think that's I love CTOs who have a love for product and the classic aesthetics and the methodology and modalities of product development. I love that at the early stage. I think it becomes natural for me that there would be a separation of concerns the more advanced the company gets and the more complex the company gets. It would make sense to me. I do see more and more CTPO roles. The part that scares me about that is the way the CEO is viewing that role. So when I talk to CTPO candidates, I'm not concerned with their competence and their love and their passion for product development and product engineering. I'm a little more concerned about the pressures the organization are going to put on. You know, it's like funding your own product, right? Your own startup. There's no break between my money and my time on the developers. With a VC or with an investor, they can say, oh, hang on, we're not going to release that money. So I like it when there's a separation of those concerns so that there's a natural conversation that has to happen. I don't like that role combined when it's in lieu of, you know, the salary, thinking they're going to save money, or thinking that product development is going to happen faster because, hey, we have a technical person leading it. I don't believe in any of that. I think that it's I love, like I said, early stage CTOs to have a strong view of product and then to see those roles veer. To Riza's point, though, it does require conversational skills, negotiation skills, inclusivity, empathy. And I don't want to see that stuff get thrown out of the window and conflated into one role for that convenience. All right. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.